Why has no team ever won three Super Bowls in a row? It's happened in basketball, baseball, hockey, and other sports, but never in the NFL. Today I want to discuss the teams that got so close, what makes it so hard, and how likely the Chiefs are to make history this season. There have been 8 teams to go back to back, but failed to get that third. The first was the Green Bay Packers from 1965 to 1967. They actually won the NFL championship in 1965, which was the Super Bowl before the Super Bowl. But the Super Bowl era didn't actually begin until 1966, so they won Super Bowl 1 and 2. The second team was the Dolphins in 1972 to 1973. They had the perfect season, the only perfect season ever, in 1972 and won the Super Bowl that year, followed by another championship in 1973. In 1974, they finished 11 and 3, but were upset by the Oakland Raiders in the divisional round of the playoffs. Third was the first attempt by probably the greatest dynasty of all time, the Pittsburgh Steelers, from 1974 to 1975. They won Super Bowls 9 and 10 with their dominant steel curtain defense and a balanced offense. In 1976, despite significant injuries, they finished the regular season 10 and 4 and made it to the AFC Championship game, but lost to the Oakland Raiders. Fourth, it was the Steelers' second three-peat attempt from 1978 to 1979. In 1980, coming off their back-to-back wins, they finished the season with a 9 and 7 record and missed the playoffs. Then we had the San Francisco 49ers from 1988 to 1989, led by Joe Montana. In the 1990 season, they went 14 and 2 and were heavy favourites to win a third consecutive Super Bowl, but they lost to the New York Giants in the NFC Championship game. Then we had the Dallas Cowboys, who won the Super Bowl in 1992 and 1993. In 1994, they finished the regular season with a 12 and 4 record and made it to the NFC Championship game, but they lost to the 49ers. The Denver Broncos won the Super Bowl in 1997 and 1998. John Elway retired after the 1998 season, so in 1999 the Broncos struggled without their Hall of Fame quarterback. An injury to running back Terrell Davis led them to finish the season with a 6 and 10 record, not even making the playoffs. Finally, we have the New England Patriots, who won the Super Bowl in 2003 and 2004. The Patriots finished the 2005 regular season with a 10 and 6 record and won their division, but they lost to the Denver Broncos in the divisional round of the playoffs. So now we've seen the teams that almost three-peated but didn't. So what makes it so hard for it actually to happen? Firstly, the NFL is unique among major American sports leagues for its single elimination playoff format. So single game formats increase the randomness of the game, and underdogs are more likely to win in that kind of format than, say, a 5 game series or a 7 game series. However, looking back at all these teams, it seems that injuries are the biggest derailment of success. Football is a physical sport with a high risk of injuries, more so than other sports. A 2017 Harvard study found the mean number of injuries suffered per game in the NFL is approximately 3.4 times higher than the combined rates of the MLB, NBA, NHL, and UEFA combined. And the NFL's concussion per game rate is approximately 6.9 times higher than the combined rates of these same leagues. So let's start there. From the teams we discussed, several faced injuries that destroyed their chance of a three-peat. The 1974 Dolphins faced injuries and distraction. Several key players, including Larry Sonka, Jim Kick, and Paul Warfield, were distracted by their impending move to the World Football League. The World Football League was supposed to rival the NFL and take it global, but ultimately it failed due to financial difficulties and low attendance. On top of that, injuries to key players impacted the team's performance, so running back Mercury Morris and wide receiver Marlon Briscoe were some key injuries that derailed the season. In the 1976 season, the Pittsburgh Steelers faced injuries to running backs Franco Harris and Rocky Bleier, severely limiting their offensive options. The Raiders were also one of the strongest teams in the NFL during the mid-1970s, so it wasn't an easy path. In the 1980 season, the Steelers also faced injuries to key players like Terry Bradshaw, and also by the end of the 1979 season, many of the key players were nearing the end of their careers. They'd been dominant for a whole decade, so they were kind of getting old. In the 49ers' 1990 season, they were playing the Giants in the NFC Championship game, but during that game, Joe Montana suffered a brutal hit that resulted in a broken hand, bruised sternum, and a severe elbow injury. That injury ended any chance of a three-peat, and Montana also missed the 1991 season and most of 1992, just to give you an idea of how severe the injury actually was. In 1994, the Cowboys were in the NFC Championship game against the 49ers, and Troy Aikman suffered a concussion that was so bad he couldn't return to the game, so they ended up losing. In 1999, John Elway had retired from the Broncos, and a key piece in their offense, Terrell Davis, the running back, got injured for the whole season, so they really had no chance of even making the playoffs. They finished the year 6 and 10. And finally, in 2005, the Patriots suffered injuries as well to key players such as Rodney Harrison and Richard Seymour. The Patriots started 45 players in 2005, which is a record for a division champion. Another reason that teams don't three-peat is changes to key staff members. For example, the Packers failed the three-peat because Vince Lombardi retired as a head coach after the 1967 season. He took role as GM and his assistant Phil Bengtson took over. The team struggled in the 1968 season, finishing with a 6-7-1 record and missed the playoffs. The NFL introduced the salary cap in 1994, which limits on the total amount of money that teams can spend on their player contracts. This can also prevent teams from three-peating because they can't afford to play all their stars. For example, in this most recent offseason, the Chiefs had to let go of Sneed because they couldn't afford to pay all their guys. For them, it was a decision between Chris Jones and Sneed. They couldn't have both because of the salary cap restrictions. Obviously, we don't know if this move specifically is going to have an effect on the team, but it is noteworthy. So the salary cap was introduced midway through the Cowboys dynasty. They won 3 Super Bowls in 4 years, 1992, 93, and 95, and the salary cap was 94. The Cowboys had several high-priced stars. They had Troy Aikman, Emmitt Smith, Michael Irvin, and that took up a major chunk of the salary cap, so they lost some of their other studs. Some notable players included Ken Norton Jr., who was a key defensive player. Norton left for San Francisco in 1994 because the Cowboys couldn't match his market value. Larry Brown, a cornerback, was the Super Bowl 30 MVP, and he left for the Oakland Raiders. However, as I mentioned the injury to Troy Aikman in the 49ers game, I would say that was more impactful than losing these defensive players. But it is another factor in restricting the team's ability to keep winning. So now I want to apply this framework to the Chiefs. Can any of these factors prevent them from three-peating this year? Whether that be salary cap, coaching, motivation, or injuries. So let's start with the salary cap. As mentioned, the Chiefs traded Sneed to the Tennessee Titans. They saved $19.8 million against the salary cap, and that move was necessary due to their tight salary cap situation, which only had $7.6 million available before the trade. So Sneed was a crucial part of the Chiefs' defense in the 2023 season. He covered the opponent's top receiver on at least 65% of the snaps, a league high 7 times during the regular season, according to NFL Next Gen Stats. Only once were any of those receivers able to catch more than 2 passes. That was Davante Adams with the Raiders, who had 5 catches for 73 yards on 7 targets against Sneed in Week 12. Sneed also didn't allow a touchdown catch as the nearest defender in coverage all season until the Chiefs played the Bills in the playoffs. His presence will definitely be missed on the team, but I don't know if it's enough to derail the season. The defense is still great, and they developed their corners really well. They also still have McDuffie, who was first team All Pro this season, leading them at cornerback. Coaching has still remained stable with Andy Reid and Steve Spagnuolo at the helm. As of right now, there haven't been any injuries, but of course, once the season starts, that's always a risk. And if the Chiefs suffer an injury to a key player, that will likely derail the three-peat attempt. As we've seen, that's been the most frequent issue for teams trying to win 3 in a row. The Chiefs definitely seem motivated to make history, and Mahomes has said that it would be, quote, legendary to do it. He also said at their most recent Super Bowl parade that we're going for the three-peat. Don't get it twisted, we're doing it. 3 times. First time in NFL history, we're doing it. But as we've seen, three-peating is damn hard. There have been some amazing dynasties that have failed to achieve it, injury being the most common problem. We'll see if the Chiefs can make history, however unlikely it may seem. Alright, thanks for watching.